My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Halloween Kills. Now, I'm just going to begin this review by stating a very hot take. I think the first Halloween is one of the most overrated movies ever. I know! I said it, and I mean it. I've watched it a few times, and every time I watch it, I'm just like, maybe this will be the time in which I love it. And I never do. I just don't get the love that movie gets. Maybe if when it came out you hadn't seen any other slasher movies by that point and you saw that for the first time and you're like, oh, I like this. But now that we've had so many slasher movies and so many horror movies come out and going back to that first Halloween movie, there's just nothing about it that really stands out. Like, you watch Nightmare on Elm Street and you got the crazy dream sequences. You watch Scream and you got the crazy meta references. You watch Child's Play and you got this mix between horror and comedy. Halloween is just a standard slasher movie that feels really dated and I've never gotten the love for. That said, I know this franchise has its fans. I know people love this franchise. And the truth is, I think it's one of the worst horror franchises ever. I like Season of the Witch. I think that one's decent. And I think the first one's not bad. I have fun with H2O. I pretty much despise the rest. Even the 2018 one, I guess it's one of the better ones, but I was surprised at how bad that movie was. But even though I wasn't excited for this movie because I didn't like the Halloween franchise, and I thought that the 2018 movie ended the story as it needed to, the trailer for this movie came out, and I'm just like, okay, this movie looks pretty brutal and pretty great, actually. Like, I was shocked at how great that one trailer was. So after seeing this movie, is it one of the best Halloween movies ever? Does it change my opinion on the franchise? No. This movie is shockingly awful. I really hated it. And the fact is that I knew I was going to hate it within the first 20 minutes because it just begins in the most messiest of ways. Like, it has a character from the first movie who finds a character who supposedly died in the first movie. And he's just like, you okay? You okay? And then we get a flashback to that guy's life 40 years ago, back after the event of the first movie in 1978. And this flashback just went on for way too long. It felt unfocused. It focused on all these different characters that the movie wanted to set up for this movie. And then it leads up why this one character feels guilt that he didn't get Michael Myers before in the past. And I was just watching it, and the first 20 minutes are just a pure mess. And I was just like, well, the movie's bound to get better from here. And it doesn't. This movie is a mess from start to finish. Just everything about it seems completely irrelevant. It focuses on the most random of things. It doesn't have a main character. A main character in the movie is key, or at least main characters. But this movie jumps around from character to character to character without a clear focus on who are we following this story with. Laurie Strode is out of the picture for most of this movie. The daughter isn't in the movie a ton. The granddaughter is in the movie in sections. You got Tommy Doyle, who's in the movie in sections. You got this couple who's a nurse and doctor on Halloween that the movie focuses on for a bit. Then you got, like, the movie just doesn't have a main character. So because of that, it just feels like you're watching things happen. It doesn't feel like a cohesive story. Like, who is supposed to be the emotional core of this movie? Because the movie is completely empty on a thematic level. So all you got is these scenes where Michael Myers is going from one bunch of people to the next, killing them. And I guess it's brutal, I guess it's bloody, but that's not enough to save the movie. Like, if you're watching a movie and you're really engaged with what's happening and the kills are brutal and bloody, it's just the extra cherry on the top. But your movie can't live or die by those rules. You know, it's a nice addition, but you need more than just that. You also need tension, and this movie's completely tensionless. I watched this movie in a basement in pitch dark. There was creaking going on upstairs and all that, and not once was I scared. Not once. Not once did I get chills. Not once was I on the edge of my seat. The movie just couldn't get me engaged because it isn't well made. The script is a complete mess. So I just found it a hard movie to get into whatsoever. And, like, I'm sorry, but, like, spoiler for the 2018 movie, but Laurie Strode defeated Michael. She did it. She spent all those years waiting for this fight, and she did it. And now they just threw that all away so you could have another franchise. Like, it's like the entire goal of that movie was to build up this big fight, and just for them to be like, oh, she finally defeated him, she outsmarted him, it's a satisfying end to Michael. And then for them to just keep it going, it just feels like, well, whatever. Whenever they think that he's dead, he's just going to come back to life. It doesn't make me more engaged, like, oh my god, how are they going to stop him? They get the opposite effect. Because I'm like, I don't kill. They're not going to stop him. So whenever someone's fighting Michael, I don't get it. I'm not into it because I just know that person's going to die. I know they're not going to do any damage to Michael. And that's the case here. When you have this undefeatable bad guy, it's just not interesting. You know, like even Thanos in Avengers Infinity War. You know, he's this big dude with this powerful weapon, and you could still feel the stakes. You know, there were still moments where he was outsmarted, where they almost defeated him. And those moments kept you more engaged because he wasn't just this undefeatable, bland antagonist. You need that. And you just don't get that with Michael Myers. And by the end, this movie just leaves you completely unsatisfied. The way it ends and the way it begins, like, it makes the entire movie feel irrelevant, unnecessary. Like, this just feels like one giant filler movie. And I just think that kind of writing is beyond lazy. And, okay, so this is one rule of movie that I actually find very difficult to talk about. And what is that? It's stupidity in movies. Now, lots of people complain in movies when someone is stupid. I don't always complain when someone is stupid. Because people are stupid. That is the honest truth. Oh my goodness, if people were getting chased by a madman, they would do the dumbest things. People watch the movies and they're like, I would never do that. I would never trip there. I would never do... Yes, you would. You're an idiot. You would definitely do all those stupid things because you are a stupid person. And hey, I'm a stupid person. If I was getting chased by a madman with a knife, I would do a bunch of stupid things too. We're all stupid idiots when getting chased by a madman with a knife. So, I never liked the argument that people make, like, oh, I didn't like this movie because all the people were really stupid. There's a movie called Green Room that came out back in 2016. Great movie. And there's one scene where someone does something really stupid, and I love that moment because you understand why they did that stupid thing. What they were thinking, just the way the characters felt in that moment. And that's good filmmaking. There was no good filmmaking here, and the characters... I'll say this. There's an acceptable line of stupidity that you can accept. There is. You can be like, okay, they're stupid, I buy it. Then you get to the line, and if they cross that line, you no longer buy the stupidity, and now you're angry at the movie. And this movie crosses that line so many times. There was just a few characters in this movie, when they encounter Michael, that they're just the dumbest people alive. Like, they go to shoot him, I wasted all my ammo. Oh, he's on top of the vehicle. I'll shoot the windows and not directly above me, even though I know exactly that's where he is. Oh, well, I got this stuff, but I'll try to choke him. The people are just beyond frustrating to watch because they're all idiots. There was one funny scene where someone's chasing after Michael with a gun, and like he slams the car door into them, and they accidentally shoot themselves. And I thought it was like a really funny moment. I know that sounds dark, but if you've seen the movie, it's a really funny moment. And I'm just like, was that intentionally funny? Because the 2018 version definitely tried to be funny moments, and this one seemed like it took itself more seriously. So when that moment came, I'm just like, does the movie know that's funny? Or does it think it's actually like a brutal death? I still don't know. There's this one plot point that I actually didn't hate. It's basically when the movie focuses on this mob and the mob mentality, and I think it could have said some insightful stuff there. I think they could have taken that in a very interesting direction. But the idea is introduced, and then everyone goes to this hospital, and then we get one scene there, and then that entire scene just feels pointless by the end. Like, it's just like they had this scene where they're like, well, should we make some kind of critique of the mob mentality? Well, this movie's only an hour and 20 minutes, so I guess it doesn't hurt. Like, it feels like they finished the movie, they needed some extra time, and they're like, well, what if they all came to the hospital, and there's a moment where the mob is being a mob. Brilliant. Love it. I kind of like what they were trying to say with it. It just doesn't feel like it actually has any effect on the plot. You know, I do kind of like the fact how just the idea of Michael Myers is enough to corrupt people. hell, it's 2021. People love acting with some mob mentality, and it's a dangerous thing. And I think if the movie actually made that its focal point and exploded in interesting ways, I think this movie really could have stood out. I actually really think that should have been the plot of this movie. Because if Laurie Strode is out of commission for most of this movie anyways, that would have been the preferred direction. Focus on an entirely new bunch of characters as they start this mob, and how this mob starts to rip the town itself apart, and not just Michael Myers. That should have been the entire movie. Yeah, but we didn't get that. This movie's not smart enough to do that, and I didn't mind the 20-minute section when the mob mentality comes into play, but by the end, it feels so irrelevant. And also, what was I going to say? Oh yes, the acting. The acting is awful. Anthony Michael Hall, he's given good performances in the past, but he's really bad here. Like, really bad. The granddaughter of Laurie Strode, she's bad in this movie too. Just all the acting was really bad. The writing and the dialogue is also pretty awful. Like, the way that people talk in this movie, they just seem so self-serious, and like, every other line of dialogue just feels like evil ends tonight. Michael Myers will pay for the sins that he has done over the years. For 40 years, we've been afraid of Michael Myers, but not tonight. It's just like this movie thinks it's this big, epic movie, like we're facing evil. And when every other line just tells it just, after a point, it becomes a self-parody. And John Carpenter comes back to do the score for this movie. I believe that's the case. It definitely sounded like one of his scores. I should have looked that up beforehand. Hold on, let me actually check now. Halloween Kills. Art, cast, and crew, composer, John Carpenter, Cody Carpenter, and Daniel A. Davies. I liked his new score in the 2018 Halloween movie. I don't think it was actually that good in this movie. That said, I will say I like the opening titles. I thought it had that feel that the original movie had during its original titles. And during the flashback that I mentioned in the beginning of the movie, that's absolutely awful. I will say that it's impressive that they recaptured that look of that era really well. That was an impressive element. But yeah, that's about as positive as I can get with this movie. There's certain ideas that I wish the movie explored, but it's just far too dumb of a movie to do that. The kills are brutal, they're bloody, but they're lacking in tension, they're lacking in getting me engaged with the moment, so it just didn't do a lot for me. The writing, the dialogue, the acting are all awful. The movie has no main character that the movie actually focuses on. The movie seems completely irrelevant by the end. There's so much stupidity in this movie that it actually frustrated me. This is another terrible Halloween movie. Like, I really hated this movie. I'm gonna go ahead and give Halloween Kills a 2 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Halloween Kills? Did it kill your time? Ha ha ha, that was a good one. Anyways, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.